Hello, 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 friends. How are we? Welcome, Zlo. Congrats on first. Zigacat, hello, how are you? Give me just a second, y'all. My microphone feels really delayed in my ears. I just want to double check something. Okay, I think that's better. Gonna be distracted. World Series and keeps it happening. Hey, no worries. No worries at all. Oh my gosh, Morn Watchers. Hi. How are you? How are you doing on this fine Saturday evening for me? I guess you're in a different time zone, so I don't know what day or time it is for you, but welcome. Thank you for the follow. Y'all, I'm so excited for tonight. Also, the music is super quiet, so we're going to bump that up a little. It's 1 a.m., so I can't stay too long, but want to pop in. I appreciate you so much. Hi, Hannah. Hello, hello. How are you? Y'all, this is going to be my favorite stream of this series. I'm like so prepped and ready. I've got my Inquisition earrings on. I've got my Inquisition companions shirt and pants on. Like, I'm so excited. So excited. I was going to try to get my Inquisitor pin on as well, but it's two different spots and I didn't want to poke myself because I was rushing. So, wasn't about that life. Happy Halloween, ready for some Veilguard? I'm so ready. Zigacat, I don't think you understand. I will cry the moment I see the menu screen and hear the music. I will cry. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. I'm also so relieved that this is like, that I finished everything for y'all. I was working up until the last second again, finished compiling everything I need for tonight, literally 10 minutes before hitting go live. But here we are. We're good. I've already got my makeup on because I'm that prepared, clearly. And I'm going to go ahead and get us the Inquisition trailer because we're going to watch that first. My playthrough will be 1,000 hours because I have to stop and cry every 10 minutes. Yes, exactly. I don't know. Oh, hold on. I'm accidentally progressing through slides that I haven't even shown you yet. Yeah, if I wasn't playing on stream, that would 1000% me too. Thankfully, I have the stream to push me forward. So, oh my gosh, photo mode's going to be so great. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Well, y'all, let me go ahead and pull up YouTube and get us the Dragon Age Inquisition trailer to watch before we do anything, because I feel like that's important to see. So, Dragon Age Inquisition trailer. I'd ideally like the launch trailer if possible. Let me see if I can find it. That's what we've watched for the last two games so far. Okay. Okay, we have a couple trailers, but I think we've got the right one. So I'm getting it ready. We're going to watch this in just a second. I'm just going to get audio prepped and ready. No, don't play. I didn't say play. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I'm a little all over the place. There it is. Okay. Y'all, we're just going to dive in super fast tonight. Who's ready? Raise your hand if you're ready, because I'm so ready. We're going to watch the Inquisition trailer before we do anything else. Let me... Thank you for the save game, Ziga. I'm gonna refund that to you because I can't save, but thank you. Okay. This is what I want. Yes. I don't know why it's taking forever to refund you. Hold on. Refresh. Refund. There we go. Okay. Y'all, let me pause our music and let's go. I'm hoping this isn't too loud either. Oh. Okay, music. Oh my gosh. Like, I know what's happening for all of this, but I'm just in awe of this trailer. Oh, this is so good. That's adorable. Dang. Okay. I did not realize how good that trailer was. I was not prepared for that. I was really no, we're not playing anymore. I know. 10 years ago. That trailer, hold on, let me see what day that was posted. November 17th, 2014. Was posted on the IGN's channel. I don't know about Dragon Age's channel, but dang, that was a really good trailer. Like, obviously, like, we know now, like, what things are spoilers in that trailer, but like, I can't even imagine watching that before playing the game. That's just super fun to see. Anyways, let me get some music back on for us. Some very spooky music. And we're gonna get into it. Ta-da! Fancy new overlay just for tonight. Okay. So, I did my best to include external lore, from books and shows best as possible. But if, again, as I said every other night this week, if there's things that you're like, hey, you missed this very important detail, or hey, I don't understand this, let me know in chat, please. Please, please, please. So, to start, y'all, we left off with the Chantry in Kirkwall blowing up on Thursday night at the end of Dragon Age 2. This game takes place 1 year after that. So, politically, Thedas is kind of all over the place. Things are kind of messed up. The Chantry is just in a big panic over the Mage and Templar conflict, because mages are trying to get out of the Chantry, and Templars kind of are at this point too. So there are two pieces of lore pre-Inquisition that are very important to this. All things that happen in that year between Dragon Age 2 and Dragon Age Inquisition. First is the Masked Empire. A fantastic book. I read this, I think, late summer. And it follows the story of Empress Celine with the Orlesian Civil War and Gaspard and Brialla. So we follow those characters that we see in the game as well. Let the Chantry panic, for real. So Celine and Brialla, as we know from the game, are lovers. And it's like a very big thing in the book too. Brialla is her handmaiden and spy master. They've known each other for a very, very long time, since they were young, even before Celine was empress. And Brialla tries to use her relationship to make things better for the elves in Orlais, specifically in Halam Sharal. And there ends up being an elven uprising in Halam Sharal. It's kind of imminent. So we have Celine here, we have Brialla here. Brialla works with her friend Felisan, supposedly Dalish elf. He helps spark the Elven Rebellion. Brialla ends up getting captured by Gaspard, silly little Gaspard, who is Celine's cousin. She gets away, ends up back up with Felisan, and then Gaspard attacks Celine, and this is her champion, Michel de Cheven. And these four all end up together at some point, trying to figure out a way to stop the Civil War, because Gaspard's just kind of like trying to take over in a coup, essentially. But through all of this, Brialla also learns that Celine kind of ordered for the Elven Rebellion to be put down, literally burning the alienage to the ground, essentially. So they have a falling out too. No longer gal pals. And so yeah, they end up all together. They meet up in like near a Dalish encampment. They meet a demon that we will meet in the game later on. But they end up discovering the Illuvian network. And they work together, including Gaspard at this point, to get back to Valreo.
I got some banana bread at work today, dude.
Hi, Cindy. No worries. Yeah. You're totally fine. Enjoy your lurk. So they have to work together to get back to Valreo through the Illuvian network. Gaspard and Celine's champion, Michel, they do end up trying to duel. It doesn't go well in general. We learned that Michel de Cheven is actually a half-elf as well, so he's kind of disgraced in Celine's eyes. Not a fun time. And then at the very end of the book, Felisan is approached by an unknown elf. And because he failed to take the Illuvian network from Brialla, because Brialla has control of it, Felisan is supposedly killed. Now, it's insinuated that this unknown elf, is an agent of Fen'Harel. Y'all might know where I'm going with that. We'll get there later. Met someone and she beat me in an arm wrestling competition, so she got to choose my profile picture. Oh, no. I see it. I love it. Anyways. All right. So that's the Masked Empire. That is one backstory going into Inquisition. That's pretty important. Then we have Asunder. Asunder follows 5 characters, 3 of which we know pretty well at this point. So we've got Cole, we've got Reese, we've got Wynn, we've got Evangeline, and we've got Shale. So this takes place in the White Spire, which is the Circle Tower in Valreo. And it's happening about the same time as the events of the Masked Empire. This is most of Cole's origin story. And honestly, it's kind of all of it because he retells some stuff as well. Reese is a mage who discovers Cole in the Spire Tower, the White Spire, befriends him, learns that Cole has been murdering mages. Supposedly for Cole to keep himself real. He feels like he's not real unless he has something to anchor to, and that is these mages that he's murdering. Because of this, there's an investigation that happens. The Seekers take over the tower from the Templars. His restrictions are tightening on mages after Kirkwall. And Rhys ends up being recruited by Wynne along with one of his other mage friends, Adrian. Wynne recruits them to go on an expedition under orders from the Divine to help a friend of hers that is Tranquil out in the Western Approach. And he supposedly became an abomination. Kind of weird. Tranquil can't do that, right? Also, it's revealed here that Rhys is Wynne's son. So you remember all the way back in Dragon Age Origins, Wynne mentions that she had a son with a Templar. That's Rhys. So, small world. Lord Seeker Lambert, who we hear a lot about throughout Inquisition, but like I don't think we ever see him, sends a Templar named Evangeline with them to keep an eye on them, you know, take them out if things go wrong, kind of thing. And Cole secretly follows along to make sure that Rhys is safe because he cares about Rhys. After a long trek across Orlais, they get to Adamant Fortress. It's all sounded familiar. Where Pharamond, the Tranquil Mage, is conducting research. The veil's really thin there, so it's easy for him to do the research there. Shale is also here and has been guarding Pharamond to make sure things don't go awry until Wynne gets here. Shale has been traveling with Wynne as well to find a way to restore her former self and no longer be a golem. So Wynne, Rhys, and Adrian work to enter the Fade to confront the demon that's possessing Pharamond. But unfortunately, Evangeline and Cole get pulled in as well, so everybody's just knocked out, and Shale's just kind of like, okay, I'm here. And they end up fighting through various memories that each of them hold, including a very important one, Cole's backstory. He relives the trauma of being a young child with his father threatening to kill him because he has magic of some sort. His mother was already killed for being a mage. Now his father's coming for him. He and his little sister hiding in the kitchen cabinets. Unfortunately, Cole, wanting to keep his sister quiet, ends up killing her. She dies with him, and that's incredibly dramatic. So, it's a big memory for him. Eventually, Pharamond is freed from his demon, no longer tranquil. So suddenly a tranquil can become untranquil. And he explains that the Chantry was tasking him with research to find an alternative to the Rite of Tranquility, and found out that a tranquil can reverse the Rite of Tranquility by simply touching a demon or spirit. He tried to do this and was accidentally possessed. So it's not foolproof if you're by yourself. They end up returning to Valoreo. Things are in chaos because of the Civil War. The Templars and the Seekers don't really want to let them into the city. They just want to be like, hey, you were gone too long. Sorry, you're not going to let this happen. But they get in, they meet with the Divine. The mages then hold a conclave, and Enchanter Fiona shows up as well to discuss whether they should separate from the Chantry. Unfortunately, Lord Seeker Lambert and the Templars don't give them an option to vote. They just come in and attack, saying that this is heresy. A lot of mages are killed. They imprison Rhys because they believe that Rhys was kind of at the head of all this, and also is accused of killing Pharamond after they got back. That's not really what happened. Leliana shows up, helps Shale, Wynne, and Cole, and Evangeline work to free Rhys. They break all the phylacteries in the tower, which are used to track mages. In the ensuing fight, then, Evangeline is killed, and Rhys realizes he was in love with her. Wynne sacrifices herself by transferring the spirit of faith that's kept her alive to Evangeline to bring her back. And the book finishes with the mages having fled to Andorral's Reach. It's an old Tevinter fortress along the border of Tevinter and Orlais. They hold a new conclave, and it's decided they're going to fight for independence from the Chantry. So, the Masked Empire and Asunder, those are things that have been going on in the year between Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition. And then we get to Inquisition. There's another conclave being held with the Divine to try to restore peace between the Mages and Templars. Cassandra and Leliana are questioning the Herald, or who will be known to be the Herald to the player character, because they believe that the player character was the one who killed the Divine. And the explosion at the conclave, unfortunately, also kind of blew up the Temple of Sacred Ashes, which is not great. This is some really cool concept art of that, which I found. I thought that was just fascinating to see. And, they think that your character is responsible, but the mark on their hand that they have from the explosion could also help. So they're down. They want to seal the breach that's spewing out demons into the world. So Cassandra guides your character through fighting demons. They eventually meet up with Solus and Varric. We love Varric from Dragon Age 2. We love the egg. And Solus helps your character seal their first rift. Further on, they meet this idiot of a man, High Chancellor Roderick, who is convinced that he needs to arrest your character for murdering the Divine, doesn't want to give them a chance. But Cassandra and Leliana, who worked for the Divine, they hold rank. So they're like, no. After getting to the Temple of Sacred Ashes, there's a whole lot of red lyrium. Varric's concerned, of course. And when they approach the rift, there's a vision of your character and a very dark, powerful figure of some sort restraining the Divine with magic, and the Divine yells for your character to run away. Solus advises that you reopen the rift and then seal it, and it will stabilize both the breach and your mark. Because of this, you become known as the Herald of Andraste. And it's all very exciting. Now, I didn't really know where else to put this, but we do need to talk about Cassandra's backstory. There's an anime movie called Dawn of the Seeker. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. But it takes place 8 years before the start of Dragon Age Origins. She was a young seeker in Orlais. Throughout the movie, she fights to stop a conspiracy of corrupt Templars, as well as some rogue blood mages, involving a ritual with some dragons. It's a big, complicated mess. Ultimately, she disrupts all of this and saves Divine Beatrix III, the Divine before Justinian V. She saves the Divine from a dragon attack, and becomes named the hero of Orlais and right hand of the Divine. So that's how she got her job. All right, anyways, back to present day. The Herald of Andraste wakes up in Haven in a small house and is instructed to go to the Chantry, meet with Cassandra, and you're introduced to the advisors. We have Cullen, our commander of the Inquisition's forces. We have Josephine, our ambassador, and Leliana, our spy master. And we've seen Cullen and Leliana in all 3 games now. So I love that. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to see these people in Veilguard. That's okay. So once meeting with your advisors at the war table, you're advised to go to the hinterlands, because the Inquisition needs horses. They need people. And Master Dennett was the former horse master for Redcliffe, so why not? It's nearby. So you arrive in the hinterlands, the place that takes the longest to get through everything. I like the young blonde girl that controls the dragons. Yeah, I always forget about her. I saw a picture of her earlier. I was like, who is that? But yeah, so Hinterlands, the place that takes forever to get out of. You never leave. You never leave. It's a beautiful area in like southwestern Ferelden, because Redcliffe is a part of the Hinterlands. And the very first person you meet is Scout Harding. I love her. Can't wait to romance her in Veilguard. She will be returning. She's kind of the forward scout, works for Leliana. She is romanceable, kind of. But she gives you kind of a brief for every region that you go to, giving you some information that's good to know before exploring. In the Hinterlands, while doing a little bit of exploring, you meet revered Mother Giselle. She ultimately becomes like a chantry liaison to the Inquisition, because she does support the Inquisition, which is kind of a positive. There's also Redcliffe that you can go to, just not right away. And then a companion that you can meet here in the Hinterlands is Blackwall. Blackwall is a warden. And it's really weird because there are no other wardens around. All wardens have disappeared except for Blackwall. So we recruit Blackwall to find out why. Blackwall's confused, but he says he'll join anyways. You know, who doesn't like a mysterious warden? But he claims that he was here to recruit more wardens. Despite there not being a blight, you always need wardens, right? And then, as I said before, we came here to go find horses, and that's at Redcliffe Farms. There's lots to do out there, lots of horse racing, which is always fun. More watchers, if you're watching, this is our favorite place, right? Anyways, we're kind of gonna go through a couple of regions real quick before we get back to story stuff. We have the Storm Coast. The Storm Coast is in northern Ferelden, along the body of water that I can't remember the name of, but I'm looking at my Inquisition or Dragon Age map that's above me on the wall. The Waking Sea. That's the name of the body of water north of Ferelden. The Waking Sea. So the Storm Coast is along the Waking Sea. And there are a couple key people we meet here. Iron Bull. He's a Kunari Ben Hasreth agent, so a spy for the Kunari. But he's totally down to work with the Inquisition, sending the Kunari information and then getting information back for the Inquisition. He also runs a mercenary company called the Bull's Chargers. The Bull's Chargers. Words are hard. The Bull's Chargers are a bunch of misfits that work with Bull. They are a very, very capable mercenary crew. And Bull's right-hand man is Cremisius Seclassi, or Creme de la Creme, according to Iron Bull. Creme is, I would say, a fan favorite character for a lot of people. He is from Tevinter. He is also the first openly confirmed trans character in Dragon Age. There are some characters and origins in one of the taverns, but we don't know if they're trans or just in drag. We don't really know. So that's why I say Creme is the first confirmed trans character. Yeah, best boy Creme. And then there's a couple other things that go on in the Storm Coast. There's a group called the Hessarians that you can recruit if you want. Then there's also Bull's favorite thing, the giant and dragon fight, where you can come across the dragon that lives in the Storm Coast fighting a dragon, and it's really fun to watch. You can join in the fight and kill the giant, but I think it's more fun to watch. Then we have the Fallowmire. The Fallowmire I kind of hate, not gonna lie. But it's in southeast Ferelden. the reason we come here is because we find out that some Inquisition agents were actually captured by some Avar. Ends up being a whole misunderstanding later on. But we do recruit someone named Skywatcher as an agent of the Inquisition, which is really great. Second favorite thing, his favorite thing is redheads. True. Very true. But yeah, so that's Valamire. Nothing too exciting there. But kind of going back to the main story. After we've arrived in Haven, done some things in the hinterlands, gotten some, preliminary things done, we go to Valvrio. The whole goal is, we want to persuade the Chantry into working with us and saying, hey, look, we're not doing anything wrong. The Herald did not kill the Divine. We could really use your support in whatever it is that we need to do with sealing the breach. They still will not support. And Lord Seeker Lucius and Knight Captain Cerberus show up. Lucius knocks out the revered mother that's there, just fully decks her. And Lucius confronts the Inquisition, insisting that they won't be getting any help from the Templars. They're pulling the Templars out of Valrio. So after fruitless attempt, on the way out, Grand Enchanter Fiona shows up and stops the Herald, saying, hey, come to Redcliffe. The rebel mages can help you. We're hanging out there if you want our help. So we've got some options. We can try to go for the Templars anyways, or we can go help the mages. While in Valrio, you actually receive an invitation from this lovely lady, Vivian de Fer. She is the court enchanter to Empress Celine. But she invites you to her salon at Ghislaine Estate. Her lover is Duke Bastien de Ghislaine. And she wants to pledge her support. I know for me personally, the first time I encountered her, I was like, nah, no thanks, because she is all for the circle and wants the mages to be in the circle and watched over. So her politics are a little iffy, but she is a great companion to have, in my opinion. And then while you're in Valrio, an arrow will land near you, whizzing by, with a note asking you to follow these hints and clues and little quest. And it's all these red objects, references to Red Jenny. And then we meet Sarah. She is in the middle of putting down some noble idiot, and offers to join the Inquisition, stating that she and the Red Jennies could be of help. And I personally love her to death. Just a couple other locations that are important to know. The Forbidden Oasis, everybody's favorite. So in almost every region of Inquisition, there are ocularum that are used to find shards scattered around. Unfortunately, these ocularum have a dark history. They are actually the skulls of dead tranquil mages, which is, it's kind of rough. But these shards can then be taken back to the Forbidden Oasis to unlock some doors and go through a little maze and fight some demons. And you get some good stats boosted, which is always good. It's just kind of a tedious quest to go through for all of that. So after speaking with Fiona in Valrio, you have the option to either help the mages or the Templars. So we're gonna go through the option to get help from the mages first. Although we do have an ad starting here in just a second. So I'm gonna... Oh, the ad's actually running. Never mind. It's already running. So we're going to pause here for a sec. Do people have like questions or thoughts? Have I missed things so far? Obviously, I've not gotten super, super far, but have I missed things? Have I missed anything important that you think I should talk about? Inquisition is the easiest game for me to talk about, simply because it's my favorite, and I literally just finished playing it a week ago for my final playthrough my final playthrough before Veilguard. But I also realistically know that I probably missed stuff. But if not, no worries. We're going to continue in Hushed Whispers, the mage quest, here momentarily when the ads are done running. Alrighty. Welcome back from the ads, everybody. So we're getting into In Hushed Whispers. This is the quest where you can recruit the mages for help. I should clarify too, you cannot recruit both mages and Templars. It's an either or kind of situation. But when you get to Redcliffe, the very first thing you encounter is a Fade Rift that has demons as usual, but also these weird like temporal distortions affecting your movement and attack speed. And it's a very new thing. We've not encountered it before. Home run Dodgers, yay! You're fine. So when you get further into Redcliffe, we encounter Fiona first. She claims that she's not been to Valrio at all since the Conclave. So whoever we met in Valrio was not actually Fiona. Awkward. But Magister Garyon Alexius shows up, this strange looking dude. And he wants to negotiate with the Heralds for the mages, because they have control of the mage at this point. They've been pledged to Deventer, like, by Fiona. She did that because they didn't have another option, supposedly. While negotiating and chatting, Alexius's son Felix shows up and just straight up collapses, bumps into the Herald, excuse me. Alexius, of course, panics, takes him off, says we'll continue this another time, and it's revealed that Felix passed a note to the Herald saying, "Come to the Chantry, you are in danger." So, in the Chantry, the party finds an unknown mage fighting demons, and after you close the rift with him, he introduces himself as Dorian Pavis. We love Dorian. He explains that he used to study under Alexius, and understands that he was researching time magic, and that's how Alexius got here so quickly before the Inquisition could get here. So then Felix arrives and explains that Alexius is involved with the Venatori, a Deventer mage cult focused on bringing back the old days of Deventer, which is not good. Back at Haven, the Herald learns that Alexius has invited him back to Redcliffe to continue negotiations, but it's clearly a trap. And Dorian shows up, insisting to help. They set up some safeguards to not fall victim to this trap. At Redcliffe, you and Dorian, plus 2 other companions, are talking with Alexius. He reveals he's trying to cure his son's illness, because Felix is chronically ill, and that the Elder One, someone named the Elder One, has promised to help. And because you won't cooperate, obviously, Alexius uses an amulet to create a rift. Dorian tries to counter it with some magic, and then chaos ensues, and suddenly you and Dorian are in a jail cell somewhere in the basement of Redcliffe. And Dorian realizes this is probably not just a different location, but also a different time. So time magic was definitely used again. And there's red lyrium everywhere. You make your way through the castle. You find your other 2 companions you came with locked up in cells and exposed to red lyrium. They're like super deep into the red lyrium, fully poisoned by it. They explain to you what's happened in the last year. The Elder One is actually the real threat, not Alexius. The Empress of Orlais, Celine, she's been assassinated. And the Elder One has an army of demons. So they're kind of unstoppable at this point. You then also learn that Alexius is here still in Redcliffe, but never leaves the throne room. You then also find Fiona in one of the cells, and you learn that it's been a full year since you left, and Leliana is also being held here. When you find Leliana, you discover she's been tortured. It's brutal. The experiments being done they've been trying to basically take skin samples, expose those samples to red lyrium and the darkspawn taint and a bunch of different things, and it's just gruesome and brutal. They discover that she's like the most resistant to all of it, which is why they're continuing to experiment on her. But when you help her, she will assist you and the party, and you fight your way back to Alexius in the throne room. In the process of trying to get him to cooperate, Leliana threatens Felix, ends up killing Felix because this is a false future, right? And then you gain the amulet, you and Dorian are ready to go. Leliana and your other 2 companions stay behind to allow you and Dorian time to escape, because the Elder One and his demons have arrived. So once you're back on the correct timeline, whoever is on the Ferelden throne, whether it's Alistair or Honora or both of them, they'll show up and they're totally ready to just get the mages out of Ferelden. They're fed up. This is insane. It's madness. But you as the Herald can recruit them to work with the Inquisition, or you can take them as your prisoners and conscript them to work with you. Now, the alternative in Champions of the Just is to work with the Templars. You can travel to Therenfall Redoubt to go back and demand that Lord Seeker Lucius, who we saw earlier, demand that he deal with the Templars and support the Inquisition in sealing the breach. There are many noble or legion houses who like this option, and they are there physically, which is wild to me. They are there physically to show their support. When you get inside, Knight Templar Barris, who we met earlier as well, is there to escort you to the Lord Seeker. When you think you're about to meet him, you meet instead Knight Captain Denham, and he attacks you along with Red Templars. Sir Barris helps, thankfully. And when you go to find Lord Seeker and you find him, he pulls you through a door. You learn that he's not actually him, but an envy demon. Ugh. That thing is just nasty. I've only played this quest once, and there's a reason for that. I prefer to work with the mages, but also this thing is just disgusting. Envy leads you through a number of rooms, and then suddenly you hear another voice speaking. You find this young fellow, Cole, standing on the ceiling. He explains where you are. You're trapped, like, inside your head. The Envy is with you in your head, and wants to help you escape. You pass the advisors and Envy posing as the advisors, trying to basically just tear you down mentally. When you break free, you fight your way through the fortress. At some point during all of this, Cole will reveal the plot to assassinate Empress Celine, because you learn that from the mage quest, just naturally, but there's, you have to learn it somehow. And after fighting a number of Red Templars, you'll fight and defeat the Envy Demon, this nasty thing. And then back at Haven, Cole will reappear, and you can recruit him as a party member, party companion. So once you've recruited either the mages or the Templars, you can take them with you to the breach to fully seal the breach. Exciting. Yay. Once it's sealed, everyone's back at Haven partying. It's a big celebration. Everyone's happy. But of course, things can't stay happy for long. And suddenly there is some sort of unknown force marching through the mountains towards Haven. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what banner they're marching under. Hello, Terminus. How are you? How have you been? But so we don't know who these people are marching for. We don't know who they serve. So in the process of trying to go outside to get a better look, either Cole or Dorian will show up. Whoever you recruited and started working with in the previous quest with the mages or Templars, the other will show up. So if you recruited mages, Cole will show up here. If you recruited Templars, Dorian will show up here. Doing good. My boyfriend and I are both excited for Veilguard. Yes, same. I can't wait. But so Cole or Dorian will then explain that whoever you didn't side with, the mages or Templars, are working with the Elder One, and they are here. The mages have joined the Venatori, led by someone named Calpurnia. And if it's the Templars, they've been corrupted by Red Lyrium and are serving under Samson and the Elder One. So you take your party members to defend the trebuchets, make sure that they're up and running and functional, to protect Haven. But ultimately you have to retreat back to the Chantry, because there's a dragon / archdemon, maybe? Not really sure. And you have to save a lot of the townsfolk along the way. It's not easy. Usually you miss someone. But back at the Chantry, Cole or Dorian, whoever has just arrived, will be seen assisting Chancellor Roderick, the guy we hated before, the one who wanted us arrested. And he will actually share knowledge of a secret path out of Haven that the rest of the Inquisition can use to get away, while you, the Herald, find a way to stop the Elder One and the dragon, with a plan of burying Haven under an avalanche. So you prep those trebuchets, and the Elder One shows up, and he reveals himself to be Corypheus, and he gives one of the best monologues of this entire series. I'm going to read a portion of the monologue. I once breached the Fade in the name of another, to serve the old gods of the Empire in person. I found only chaos and corruption, dead whispers. For 1,000 years I was confused. No more. I have gathered the will to return under no name but my own, to champion withered Tevinter and correct this blighted world. Beg that I succeed, for I have seen the throne of gods, and it was empty. And it's just such a powerful line. His deep voice, it's so good. Anyways, after all this monologuing, the Herald is able to, very carefully get close to the trebuchet, set it off. Avalanche consumes Haven, and the Herald disappears somewhere underground. We don't know if they're safe. You come to trekking through some caves, but you find out that you've gained a new ability to use the mark on your hand as a weapon, not just for sealing the rifts. You trek through the caves, you trek through a massive blizzard in the mountains, and eventually you stumble upon the camp that the Inquisition has made. Your companions and advisors find you as you collapse. When you come to... Oh, hey, Corypheus and Dragon. When you come to, you're in the camp. Mother Dazelle is keeping watch over you. And the advisors are just arguing like crazy. Everyone's really down for good reason. Mother Giselle, after some talking, begins to sing The Dawn Will Come. Probably one of my favorite moments. The first time I played this game, I definitely cried when that happened. Brings everyone together, lifts everyone's spirits, and then Solus pulls you aside and explains that Corypheus's orb that he used at the conclave to trigger the explosion is of elven origin. And there's a bit of discussion about that, but then eventually this leads to him helping you find a location called Skyhold. Oh, there we go. There's Skyhold. I had some images out of order. At Skyhold, there's a ceremony. You are named Inquisitor. You are officially the leader of the Inquisition. Hooray, hurrah, everyone's celebrating. And then just as you're kind of getting settled in, you're getting ready to clean up the mess that is Skyhold, Varric says that he has someone for the Inquisitor to meet. And it is Hawk. You can import your Hawk. A lot of people just choose the default Hawks regardless. But Hawk explains that they've fought Corypheus before and killed Corypheus, so who the heck knows why he's back. And then it's like, hey, we've got a warden friend who has not disappeared yet, who might have information about Corypheus, also might know why the wardens are disappearing, because the wardens are going to know what's going on with Corypheus better than anybody. Also, while in Skyhold, you can meet Dagna. If you remember from Monday night's stream, Dagna is a dwarf from Orzammar who really, really wanted to go study magic in the Circle. And she did. She studied magic in the Circle, learned enchantment, and is here to help you with enchanting weapons and armor. And then one other thing you can do in Skyhold that I always enjoy, but it's tedious, is improving Skyhold. You build a garden, you build a space for your forces to train, or you can build an infirmary, you can build a mage tower, all sorts of cool stuff. A couple other key locations as well as story things. We have Crestwood. In Crestwood, well, first off, you're sent to Crestwood because you're trying to find Hawk's warding contact in Crestwood. But you also discover while here that there is something going on. There's a rift under the lake. And demons are just terrorizing the village. And there's no way to steal this rift. So you've got to find ways to drain the lake. And along the way, you discover that the mayor of Crestwood stopped the dam and allowed the lake to flood the old village of Crestwood, because a good portion of the village was tainted with the blight 10 years ago. And it's a really sad story, but you drain the lake, you discover the ruins of old Crestwood, and you basically avenge, all the people that died. You take care of the rift, all that jazz. There's also a fortress that you can claim, Caerbronic, which can be a nice little home base in Crestwood for the Inquisition. And then you can meet your warding contact. There are 3 options for the warding contact. You can have Alistair if he was not crowned king in Origins, but Loghain was still killed. Alistair could be your warding contact. You could have Loghain if you made him a warden. And if Loghain's dead and Alistair's king, or Alistair just kind of went off nowhere, you have Stroud. Stroud is the warden for Dragon Age 2 that can save Bethany or Carver in the Deep Roads. So one of these wardens will be there as Hawk's contact. and ready to assist, help you find out what's going on with the wardens. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Slow. And then we have, here's the village of Crestwood. Then we have the Western approach. Just a couple things that are important in the Western approach. We'll get to some bigger stuff here in a moment, but there is a dragon scholar that you can meet here who helps you bait and lure a dragon. His name is Frederick of Seralt. And you can recruit him for the Inquisition as well. Actually, like the Stroud ends up playing a bigger part after DA2. I do as well. So I feel like all three wardens are good options to have. I usually end up with Loghain, because I usually put Alistair on the throne, but also keep Loghain as a warden. So just because I always kind of forget that Stroud actually plays a decent role in the games. But yeah. And then in addition to this dude, our scholar, our dragon scholar, there's Griffinwing Keep that you can take as a home base for the Inquisition. Before we get into more story things, especially stuff that happens here in the Western approach, we're just gonna talk about companions. We'll take a little break from the big story stuff for the companions. So these are all of your companions and or romanceable NPCs. So I don't have a ton of stuff scripted for myself for this. This is gonna be more discussion based. First off, we have Cullen, this ex-Templar hunk of a man, I guess, if you like men. Not me. So Colin was a former Templar in Origins and in Dragon Age 2. He now is trying to make things right by working with the Inquisition. He is romanceable. He's an advisor. I don't know much about his romance because I've never done it, but I will say with his quests, he, first off, you can choose to help him wean off of lyrium, because he doesn't want to be addicted to it. Or you can force him to stay on the lyrium, which is not ideal, but he'll also ask you to work on finding information about Samson, a Templar we first learn about in Dragon Age 2, and then we learn if you side with the mages, he is kind of like Corypheus's number 2 man. Then we have Josephine, our lovely ambassador. Not a bad romance. Yeah, I've watched all the cutscenes and dialogue from his romance, and I don't like, it didn't stick out to me as anything special, but it is a good romance. Josephine, again, an advisor, our ambassador. Her romance I've done. She was the first romance I ever did. Very sweet. You like men, I roll. Exactly. Hi, Chantel. So her romance is really sweet. Companion quest wise though, first, she is from Ravine. Her family was a merchant family in Ravine, and there is an Antivan Crow contract out for her. I believe it's House of Repose. That's what it was, not the Antivan Crows. The House of Repose had a contract out on her because there were other rival families trying to take down the Montelier family. Joyce is adorable and so wholesome. I wholeheartedly agree. I love her romance. But so you can help her either get out of the contract that's on her life through spy work with Liliana, or you can go like the really long but like proper route of finding another family that you can raise to nobility that will support you in canceling out her contract. So, and then ultimately for her romance, it's really cute. You find out that she's technically betrothed to someone and she doesn't want to be. So you go and duel with this gentleman in Valrio to win her back and have the rights to her, essentially, which is kind of gross. But like also she's very excited about this because she doesn't want to marry this other dude, would much rather be with you. So it's very cute. Then we have Liliana. Liliana is not romanceable, unfortunately, because she is romanceable in Origins. So I guess that's fair. But her big quest is to go and find information that the now deceased Divine Justinia V left for her, because she worked as the left hand of the Divine. It kind of shatters her world because the Divine basically is releasing her of her duties, but also there's a lot that goes on because she has the option to kill somebody that's working against her, but you could also tell her, hey, please don't. And her personality can change drastically depending on what you let her do. Then we have Scout Harding. Scout Harding is neither advisor nor companion. She is an NPC, but she is romanceable to a point. It's not a full romance. It's really just like through dialogue. Unfortunate. She's romanceable in Veilguard. She is a fully fledged romanceable companion. I cannot wait. She will be my first romance. Anyways, moving on. Blackwall. Blackwall is our supposed warden. You find out later on that he is not actually a warden. He's been posing as a warden for a number of years, or I guess really not that long, maybe like a year or two. He was being recruited to join the Wardens, and then he and his the gentleman that recruited him, who was named Blackwall, was killed trying to save Tom Rainier, is his actual name. So he, rather than be blamed for Blackwall's death, he took up the mantle of Blackwall and carried on as a fake warden, but trying to better himself. The whole reason we find out about this is because in his former life as Tom Rainier, he worked as a chevalier and did some really awful things, including slaughtering a family with children. And he finally goes to fess up for his crimes because someone else was about to be executed and take the fall for him. You can then pull him out of prison, get him back into the Inquisition, and send him to, and ultimately decide that he will join the Wardens and go through the joining, or just stay with the Inquisition. In terms of his romance, I really don't know much about it. I've just heard that a lot of people love it. So if anyone here in chat has romanced Blackwall before, I would love to hear about it, because I did not take the time to go through his romance, really. But again, I've heard good things. So we'll move on from Blackwall for a moment, but if anyone has thoughts about Blackwall's romance, let me know. Then we have Cole. We talked a lot about Cole already because of his backstory in Asunder. But when we meet Cole and have him around at Skyhold, we learn that he is in fact a spirit. Not a person, but a spirit. Of course, a number of companions are convinced he's actually a demon and that we should get rid of him. And you can choose to keep him or get rid of him, but he is a spirit who has the ability to influence people's thoughts, because we find out later he is a spirit of compassion. He can make people forget him, so that they maybe notice him in the moment, but the moment he's gone, they don't know what happened. It's like he never existed. He's not romanceable, which I think is perfectly fine. But his whole thing is that he is worried about being bound to a mage, to the enemy. So you can choose to get an amulet that will protect him from being bound. It doesn't work though. And Varric shows up because Solus has been leading this whole thing about finding the amulet. Varric shows up and says maybe he's really not that much of a spirit anymore. Maybe he's too human. Which leads to them getting further information about his backstory. And we learn more present day information where when he was first discovered in the Spire, he was actually there just as a spirit and helped a young mage named Cole So the Cole backstory we got in the book was not his true backstory, but we learned that he was there helping Cole, who is starving because he was forgotten in the prison in the White Spire. The Templars forgot about him. He died. Cole took on his personality, his memories, his form. And Cole has the option to kill the Templar that did this. Of course, Varric doesn't let it happen. Whether if Varric allows him to pull the trigger, he becomes more human, and if not, he becomes more spirit-like. And Cole is just such a sweet child. Either way, his story is really interesting. I love both options. I honestly can't decide which I like more, but you have the option to make him a spirit, more spirit-like or more human-like. I've always thought of Cole as being a little kid. So romancing would feel weird to me. Yeah, he really does. I feel like he gives like an archetype of like an autistic adult, honestly, or like late teens autistic kid, and I think it's portrayed really well. So yeah. Moving on to Solas. We're not going to talk too much about Solas's romance right now, for reasons, but he will only romance female elves. So if you play as Lavellen, a female elf, you can romance him. Otherwise, nope. His romance is very sweet. I've most recently done his romance on stream for my most recent playthrough. He very much is like hesitant because he's like, no, I don't want to put you through this. It's only going to hurt you later. But also he can't resist Lavellen. It's really cute. Towards the end of the game in the romance, he actually shares with you that the Valisline, the elven tattoos that elves have on their faces, is not devotion to their gods, but actually a slave mark, because the elven gods and the elves of old were really no better than Tevinter way back when, which is unfortunate. But you have the option to have the Valisline removed, and Solas tells you that you're beautiful when he removes it, which is really cute. Won't say more of that though. As an autistic adult, that's a pretty accurate assessment of Cole. He's definitely autism coded. Yeah, I agree. Dorian is romanceable only by a male inquisitor. His companion quest I skipped over Solas's companion quest. You learn that he has a spirit friend who's been trapped by mages. You go to free that spirit, and you can choose to kill the spirit instead, but I prefer freeing the spirit. And at the end, of course, the spirit still dies, because the spirit was turned and deformed into a demon temporarily. But Solas, you have the option to allow him to kill the mages who captured his friend. And I personally always let him kill because, like, righteous anger. Like, of course, Solas knows way more about spirits and the Fade than anybody. Anyways, back to Dorian. Dorian deals with a lot, but at some point, Mother Giselle comes to you and says, hey, I've got a letter from Dorian's father. Can you convince him to go to Redcliffe? Just don't tell him what's going on. Of course, you still can tell Dorian what's going on. Dorian prefers that. But basically, his father's like, hey, I've sent a retainer to meet with you to talk, blah, 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 blah. You get to Redcliffe, it's actually Dorian's father there. And Dorian then explains to you that his father didn't like the fact that Dorian is gay, because they wanted to have the perfect little magister son who would marry a perfect little magister wife and have perfect little mage kids, to breed the perfect mage, essentially, is like the whole goal in Tevinter. Dorian didn't want that, of course. His father resorted to some form of blood magic to do some sort of conversion therapy, which is so not okay. Dorian is understandably mad about this. and his father has come to try to repair things between the two of them. You can encourage Dorian to repair their relationship, or just say, hey, Dorian, this is not worth your time. Let's go. And then his romance, I don't know like a ton about quest-wise, but I know that it's just very, very sweet. You can convince Dorian to stay with the Inquisition after the game. You also can say, hey, you should go back to Deventer and make things better there. Then we have Varric. Not romanceable at all. Unfortunate. He's never been romanceable, probably never will be at this point. But he is a dwarf from the Merchants Guild in Kirkwall, as we know from last game. And the only reason he's here is because of the interrogation from Cassandra. They wanted to find Hawke, and Cassandra's convinced now that at the beginning of the game that Varric must know something. They need Hawke, but they can't find Hawke. So that's the whole reason Varric's here. But he ends up becoming a very good friend, very good confidant. Brings Hawke to the Inquisition eventually. And you learn a lot more about the dwarves and his Bianca, his crossbow, his lovely crossbow. And I forgot to mention earlier, back in the hinterlands, you actually meet his lady friend Bianca as well, because there is a Deep Roads expedition in the hinterlands that you can go down and look into, and you learn that Bianca accidentally supplied red lyrium to Corypheus and the Red Templars. It's just a little bit of a story development. Overall, for Varric, his whole thing is just get rid of the red lyrium. So every time you find red lyrium and destroy it, he is so excited. His approval goes way up with you. That crossbow that took down a whole house in DA2, right? Such a good crossbow. So sad for Inquisition or for Velgard, but Cassandra. Cassandra is our Lady Seeker. She, obviously we know her from Dragon Age 2 as well, and from the Dawn of the Seeker. But she is one of the people that starts the Inquisition. And she is, unfortunately, romanced only by a male Inquisitor. But her whole thing is she's trying to take down the corrupt Seekers. And so you can actually, with her, go find Seeker Lucius and eventually kill him. And you learn from her that the Rite of Tranquility is reversible, which we already knew from Asunder. But that the Seekers knew this whole time, and she wants to rebuild the Seeker Order, and work to find a way to make tranquility reversible for everyone, because it's unfair. Her romance is so good. Yeah, I would really love to do her romance sometime. I just have not played a male Inquisitor. So yeah, she's wonderful. She also loves smut, because she's obsessed with Varric's books, and one of his book series is just straight up smut. It's great. Sarah, she is our canonical lesbian of the gaggle, but she does not like elves. Like, she'll romance you if you're an elf, but she does not like to associate herself with elves. They're too elfy. They're too stuck in their ways, blah, 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 blah. Just be a normal person, And her whole thing with the Red Jennies is, sticking it to the nobles who are oppressing the little people. So she's part of the Red Jenny network for that reason. And your companion quest with her is simply, working with the Jennies, and making a difference in little ways throughout Thedas. Her romance is really sweet because once you kind of solidified things, you can exchange gifts with her, and you have to go around all of Skyhold and ask all of the Inquisition companions and advisors, what do you think I should get for Sarah as a gift? And it's so sweet. It's so cute. They like to sit up on the rooftop of the tavern together, because her little room is in the tavern. It's very sweet. Cinder's favorite romance, honestly. Yeah, a lot of people tell me that. So I really want to do it at some point, but I think I would use a mod so I can still play a Femme Inquisitor, just because Cassandra's so queer-coded. So queer-coded. Then we have Vivienne, our lovely court enchanter to Empress Celine. She, excuse me. Or no, not court enchanter. She was grand enchanter after Fiona kind of bowed out. I think I could be mixing it up now. But Madame de Fer, Vivienne, she is not romanceable, although you can flirt with her, which I do love, but it's also sad. So we learned earlier she has her lover is a duke in Orlais. And in addition to going and finding some like Venatori tomes to kind of get a one-up on the Venatori. Welcome back from the ads, everybody. Sorry, I didn't even realize ads were playing. We're talking about Vivienne now, though. After going and finding some Venatori tomes for her, to kind of get a one-up on them, she asks for your help in getting the heart of a snowy wyvern. I think it's really terrible that you have the option to trick her with a regular wyvern heart, but you do. And she uses the snowy wyvern then to try to heal her love. He is sick and dying. Actually, I don't know if it's never clarified if she's trying to heal him or if she's trying to help him pass easily. But she creates a potion for him. He passes. She's very sad. She informs his children and all that. But she is very appreciative if you give her the correct wyvern heart, and appreciates your help through a difficult time for her. And lastly, we've got Iron Bull. Iron Bull's quest is so gut-wrenching if you do it a certain way. So because he's Qunari and he's trying to create this alliance between the Inquisition and the Qunari, there's a dreadnought run that they're going to try to cover in the Storm Coast. Basically, make sure the dreadnought can get through without the Venatori and Deventer mages taking it out. So you meet up with another Elven Qunari who knows Iron Bull as Hisrod. That's his title under the Qun. And you set up this plan where it's you and your party, Bull, and the friend, and then the Chargers are in a different spot. You can see them from across the way. So you've got two teams tag teaming, essentially, this dreadnought run to protect it. The Venatori mages become too powerful, though, and you have to choose who to help. The dreadnought or the Chargers. I have only chosen the dreadnought once, and I will never do it again. And I only did it just to see what the rest of the game would be like with Bull. If you choose to save the Chargers, everything's great. The rest of the game is great, honestly. He's very appreciative. He's sad that he's now considered Tal Vashoth. A couple of Qunari assassins come by to the Skyhold later and kind of fail on purpose at assassinating him, just as a formality, just to be like, hey, we're no longer part of us. But the Chargers live, and that's great. Krem's still there. If you choose to save the dreadnought, all of the Chargers, including Krem, die. And while you have support from the Qunari with the Inquisition, Bull is not the same. We'll get into that later. I'm actually going to make a note for myself because I don't think I made a note of it earlier. But Bull is not happy about it. So, before I move on to the next story beat, any questions about companions? Did anyone have thoughts about Blackwall? Because Blackwall stuff is just not sticking out to me. Aside from his companion quest, I don't know if there's anything special from his romance that's sticking out to me. And I feel like I'm forgetting something. Maybe not. I don't know. If I'm not forgetting anything, that's great. But I genuinely don't remember. So, anyways, let's move on. Also, my earrings are like spinning around, so they're like backwards. Okay, there we go. My little Inquisition symbols. So after getting to Skyhold and recruiting Hawk's warden friend, your next plan of attack is to figure out where these wardens are. And you get a lead that the wardens are in the Western Approach. And you discover that the wardens are being bound to demons. And demons are being bound to the wardens. They are being possessed. They're turned into abominations. And it's not good. So this is happening in the Western Approach. From here, you learn that the demons are planning something really big in Adamant Fortress. So, and all of this is with Hawk and the Warden, so Alistair, Logan, or Stroud, with you the whole time. They're here for this. You eventually go to Adamant. This is a really terrible picture of it. It's very grainy, but you lay siege to Adamant, and Colin's leading the charge with the Inquisition forces. You make your way through. You fight through. Corypheus's dragon is here, unfortunately, trying to stop you at every step. But then you stumble upon a ritual to essentially pull a demon called the Nightmare out of the Fade and into the waking world. You can choose to stop them. You can choose to recruit the wardens to your side to help fight this. But ultimately, you have to go after the dragon. And in the process, the dragon unfortunately destroys portions of the fortress. You and your entire party go falling. And out of instinct, your Inquisitor uses the mark to open a rift into the Fade, and you fall through into the Fade. Physically in the Fade, the first people to do so since the Darkspawn and Blight were created 1,000 years ago by the Tevinter Magisters of old. So you venture through the Fade, trying to make your way out. You see that there is a way out. And along the way, you actually run into someone who looks like Divine Justinia. Whether it's her or not, you're not really sure. It could just be a spirit posing as her. It could be her still lingering somehow. But she assists you and guides you, and gives you a message for Liliana. Very sweet message that, she did what she needed to do. All is good. And in order to leave the Fade, you have to fight this lovely thing, the Nightmare. This spirit of Divine Justinia V, we'll call her that, assists with this by luring off the largest portion of the demon, and you only have to fight this little thing here. It's still a tough fight, but after defeating this, you unfortunately have to make a choice. It breaks my heart that this screenshot that I found has Alistair in it instead of Logan or Stroud. But you have to then choose who will escape the Fade with you, because the Nightmare is back. And the only way to get out is to make sure someone stays to distract the Nightmare. Why is it always the spiders? Right. And I was going to get to that. The Inquisitor is terrified of spiders. The Nightmare manifests things to basically be everyone's greatest fears, and you just fight spiders the whole way, basically. So, thankfully, Veilguard will have no spiders at all. The Inquisitor made it their goal to get rid of all spiders, clearly. But so you have to choose whether Hawk will stay in the Fade to fight the Nightmare, or the Warden will stay in the Fade to fight the Nightmare. When Alistair's here, it's a really hard choice. Otherwise, most people usually leave their Warden, but it's implied that whoever stays will die. However, it's not confirmed, and I will say in one of the dev Q&As over the summer for Veilguard, people asked if there was a chance that Hawk or the Warden in the Fade would show up. And they said not in Veilguard, but it's not out of the question for the future. So Hawk / the Warden may not be dead if they were left in the Fade. You believe them on that? They're setting up for Surprise Fighter. No, they could never do that. And I feel like the people that have already play tested the game would have been like, yeah, there's spiders if there were. There better not be. It's kind of funny because there was an implication that all DA protagonists are arachnophobic. Considering just how many spiders are in the games, I believe it. I believe it. Totally believe it. But so, you come back. All is good. Unfortunately, one of them is left here. And then we also have Wicked Eyes, Wicked Hearts. The mission at the Winter Palace in Halam Sharal. Now, the Siege and Adamant and this quest can be done interchangeably. They both have to be done, but you can do either one in any order. Doesn't matter which you do first. I usually do the Siege of Adamant first, and then Wicked Eyes and Wicked Hearts. But this is where we are attempting to prevent Celine's assassination. We don't want her dying, right? We assume it's somebody, an agent Corypheus, someone from the Venatori here to do so. So this is located in Halam Sharal. We mentioned before in The Masked Empire, one of the Dragon Age novels, that a lot happens here, specifically Halam Sharal. The genocide sort of the elves and the alienage. So Briala's here too. We've got Celine, Briala, and Gaspard. We're trying to negotiate some peace and end the civil war, all that jazz. I've left Hawk in the Fade before, and the way Varric says, where's Hawk? Oh my gosh. It's heartbreaking. That's the reason why I never leave Hawk. I meant to do it in my Mage Kunari playthrough that I did off stream most recently, because I was trying to do all the opposite I normally do, and I forgot. Also, because it would have been too hard to do, but could never break Varric like that. But so we're here at the palace to stop the assassination plan. Again, Celine, Briala, and Gaspard are all here to have a peace talk negotiation. Gaspard has been trying to take over the throne from Celine. Briala is just trying to get what she wants for the elves. It's kind of a mess. We also have... So first off, Gaspard and Celine are cousins. We also have Gaspard's sister, Florian, also Celine's cousin. She's here as an honored guest. And I find it interesting that she wears the same mask that Celine wears and that Briala wears, but not her brother's mask. So that clearly says she's not necessarily loyal to Gaspard. Anyways, this is the ballroom where everything takes place. There's a lot of intrigue and deception and the playing of the game in Orlais, of course. You get introduced to all the main players. You can find all of your advisors around the palace. You can find your companions around the palace. It's only the 3 companions you choose to bring for the quest. But there are mods that allow you to bring everybody, and I would love to try that sometime. I've not played with mods before, just because mods feel complicated to me. But so there's a lot you can do in the Winter Palace. But the longer you're away from the party, the lower your approval is with the court. And really, you can only get the best outcome if you have really high approval. I know a rumor involving Celine and King Kalen. Please share. I know there was a rumor at one point that Celine was gonna try to marry Kaelin, or she wanted to try to get someone from Ferelden to marry her to like calm down the tension between Orlais and Ferelden. Use only 2 mods myself, and they're both bug fixes. Yeah, that's what I do for Origins. I use like the patch, but aside from that, DAO Oscar DLC information. Yeah, that makes sense. Terminus, please share this information about Celine and Kaelin. I want to know. We'll get to that further too, but so you go throughout the palace. I think I learned from the Dragon Age tabletop. Please share. I don't know anything about the tabletop game at all. I just realized we're gonna get Bard songs in a second. I want to skip those. So okay, there we go. Heard that the reason Logain turned on Kaelin is because Kaelin was planning on divorcing Enora and marrying Celine himself. Interesting. I think that may have been part of it. I know that there was more to it because Logain was like, Kaelin's never going to be Merrick. Kaelin's mother, who was Logain's first love, died in childbirth, or because of Kaelin, kind of because of childbirth. So that was part of it too. Yeah, highly recommend reading The Stolen Throne and The Calling if you haven't, because those books are a lot of King Merrick's backstory as well as Logain. Yep, Logain was really against any sort of reconciliation, and for good reason, honestly, because of what happened in The Stolen Throne. And I won't get into that too much because we talked about it a little bit Monday night, but I didn't want to go too into detail because spoilers, because it's really good. It's worth reading yourself. Anyways, so Winter Palace. So yeah, you're trying to suss out who is it that's gonna assassinate Empress Celine. Could it be Gaspard? It would make sense. He's been trying to take the throne from her for a while now. Could it be Brialla, a jilted lover? You know, she wants what's best for the elves, and Celine kind of ruined things with the elves, right? And you know, we go through this beautiful palace. There's the cheese wedge that's hidden in the palace, in the statue. And we come across a Harlequin. The Harlequins are so fun in this game, in my opinion. We learned this Harlequin was here where there was not supposed to be anyone. This elven servant was sent here supposedly by Brialla, and it was a setup, unfortunately. Hey, I agree, there are plenty of valid reasons for Ferelden to hate Orlais, honestly, so true. And eventually you discover that, oh no, let's wait on Morrigan. Well, actually, no, we can go to Morrigan. Morrigan we find partway through our investigation. Morrigan is seen here. First off, she is kind of the occult advisor to Empress Celine, but she is seen here wearing the dress and jewelry that Leliana describes for her in Dragon Age Origins, and I love that for her. So Morrigan is here saying she has the same interest that you do. She's not a bodyguard to Celine, but she doesn't want Celine to die, blah 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 blah. And that's kind of it. You just kind of like have a little conversation with her, but then eventually you run into the Harlequins again some more, and suddenly it's revealed Florian, where is she, is working for Corypheus, and she is here to make sure Celine falls so that Corypheus can take over. And you can choose to stop Florian and make sure Celine lives, or you can let Celine die. It's kind of brutal. But regardless, at the end, you can then choose to keep Celine on the throne. You can put Gaspard on the throne. You can have Brialla pulling the strings behind one of them, or you can get all three to work together. I personally love to get all three to work together, but that only works if you have really high approval, and that's not easy. Not easy to do at all. Anyways, once that is resolved, Morrigan will actually come back with you to Skyhold. Because she has valuable information for the Inquisition. And then if you did the dark ritual with Morrigan or romanced her in Origins, you meet her son Kieran. This little lad. Kieran at this point would be about like 9 or 10 years old. And again, if you don't romance him or don't romance Morrigan, I should say, and you don't do the dark ritual with her, Kieran's not here. Not much changes, but then he's not here. But so you can meet with Morrigan and Kieran and talk to them in the courtyard, in the gardens of Skyhold. But you learn from Morrigan a lot about some elven things. She's not an elf, but she knows a lot of elven information, elven history. And she gives you information about Alluvians, which we know were all over Orlais because of the Masked Empire. And she knows of an Alluvian in the Arbor Wilds and is worried that that's where Corypheus is trying to go. That he's trying to get an Alluvian, take over the Alluvian network, and then take over Orlais and all of Thedas. So the goal is to get to the Alluvian first. So we go to the Arbor Wilds. Hello, Kendra Jameson. How are you? Welcome on in. You're just in time. We're getting to like the really juicy stuff. We just finished talking about Adamant and Halam Sharal, and we're getting into the Arbor Wilds. So in the Arbor Wilds, you are fighting through all of the Red Templars if you side with mages, and you're fighting through mages if you side with the Templars. There are Red Templars regardless usually, because not all the Templars work with you, but you're fighting through the Arbor Wilds and come across the Temple of Mythal. Hi, Darkness Queen. How are you? How are you? Welcome on in. So you get to the Temple of Mythal in the Arbor Wilds. It's absolutely beautiful, stunning. You go through kind of the first portion of it, and then suddenly Corypheus shows up. And Corypheus is trying to get in, but there are some funny looking elves stopping Corypheus from getting in. Win versus Solus is the rivalry I wanted. Oh my gosh, that would have been amazing. Now, Kendra, though, do you know the lore of the books? We talked about it earlier, but unfortunately, Solus and Win could never meet. It's really sad. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. Although that would be so cool if Win and Solus could meet. Girl's wonderful and very tipsy with some mom friends. Love that. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm talking about Inquisition. Nothing could make us better, honestly. But yeah, so Corypheus is there trying to get in. These strange elves that don't look familiar at all are able to keep Corypheus out, and Corypheus actually like full on explodes. If they could, I think the spirit would tip her off what Sola says. Oh, absolutely. 1000%. Totally. So Corypheus explodes, and you make your way following those strange elves. And then suddenly you see Corypheus reforming, and it's terrifying. And you now learn that clearly, because the dragon's nearby too, something to do with the dragon. Corypheus can just reform like an archdemon can. Oops. Fortunately, you make it into the temple, so you're fine. Love your earrings. Thank you. I bought them a couple years ago. They were from Etsy. Someone like made them. I don't know if they still make them, but they are the Inquisition symbol earrings. I love them so much. They're heavy though, I will say. Anyways, So once you're inside the temple, there are these elven rituals that you can follow. Or you can directly follow the Templars / mages, so Samson or Calpurnia, through a shortcut in the temple, through some ancient crypts. However, Morrigan informs you that if you follow the rituals, you're much more likely to get what you're looking for because you're respecting the temple and following the supplicant's path, essentially, or the pilgrim's path through the temple. I always prefer following the ritual path, just because I don't like the outcome if you don't with the elves later. But Wynn would definitely have went with you in Awakening if you told her what was going on. Oh my gosh, yes. Love him so much too. I would for sure steal to give back as a gift. I know, a couple of great gifts. Oh my gosh, Darkness Queen, you're hilarious. But yeah, so you can choose to do the shortcut or the elven rituals. But either way, you end up meeting Abelas and all of the Sentinel elves. They're not happy you're here, but they also realize that you are an enemy of Corypheus. They're like, okay, we can maybe work with you. Why are you actually here? And if you followed the ritual path, they will be kind to you. If you did not, you got to fight them, unfortunately. Now that said, Morrigan's with you. And when you learn about the Well of Sorrows, because that's what Corypheus is after, not the Alluvion. Morrigan doesn't even know what it is, but she is totally willing to make sure that the Well of Sorrows is preserved, despite the fact that Abelas would rather destroy the well than let Corypheus get his hands on it. So unfortunately, Morrigan flies off as a crow. Trespasser music. Love Trespasser. Anyways, we'll get to that later. So Morrigan flies off and you've got to make your way to the well. And if you did do the ritual and are working with Abelas, you'll have a sentinel elf guiding you through. Otherwise you're fighting your way through. Anyways, when you get to right before the well, you encounter either Samson or Calpurnia. If you sided with the mages, you're fighting Samson. If you sided with the Templars, you're encountering Calpurnia. And notice I did not say fight. Imagine Wynn drinking from the well. Oh my gosh, she would be unstoppable. That'd be wild. So I almost said Kendra because you're right there and you're on my brain. Calpurnia. Calpurnia, she can be persuaded to stand down and actually work with the Inquisition. I kind of wish that you could do the same with Samson, but I get why not, because Samson's so jaded at this point. But regardless, whether you fight either of them or redeem Calpurnia, you gain access to the well, and Abelas is there with you. Because Morrigan's also here, ready to stop Abelas from destroying it. If you've followed all of the rituals and you've been good and cooperated with Abelas and the Sentinel Elves, he will allow the option of someone to drink from the well, but will leave the temple. Otherwise, I think you have to fight him. I could be wrong about that. I'd only done that once. So this girl I used to stream said Red Lyrium Wynn is the most powerful mage. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I would 100% agree. So with the well, once you've determined that someone is going to drink from it, Morrigan can drink from it, or you as your Inquisitor can drink from it. There's no immediate reason why to do one or the other. Either works. Thank you for the hydrate, Darkness Queen. But whoever what you drinking? I'm drinking my lime mint sparkling water, my favorite. Let me make sure my camera didn't go out of focus with that. Okay, we're good. So whoever drinks from the well, gains all of the knowledge of Mythal, and gains like Mythal's voice in your head. And you later find out more information about that. But you make it back to Skyhold before Corypheus gets too close. He is like getting close to you, but you make it through the Illuvian shatters, all good. Now after that, things kind of ramp up, but thank you for the lurk. We are going to talk through a couple more locations that we did not talk about yet, before getting into end game of Inquisition. The first one is going to be Emprise du Lion. This is in Orlais, and Emprise du Lion, starting with an E, is next to two other locations that start with an E, so it's incredibly confusing. But it is a very snowy location where we meet Michel du Cheven, or de Cheven, not du Cheven. We talked about him earlier in the Masked Empire. He is, or was, Celine's champion. And he no longer is, because it was found out that he was a half-elf. He was lying about it the whole time. He was not honorable about it. But he still wants to serve Orlais. And he actually kind of was the one that chose to step down rather than Celine saying, hey, you can't be my champion anymore. He chose to because he felt like he was hiding himself and lying otherwise. But we encounter him. He asks us to go to Suladan Keep to take care of a demon named Ishmael. And I mentioned earlier, there is a desire demon that they encounter in the Masked Empire, and it is Ishmael. And Ishmael is very much a trickster desire demon, because it's all about choice. He's a choice spirit instead of a desire demon. But Ishmael at Suladan Keep, you fight through the keep. This becomes another base for the Inquisition. You can choose for something, some sort of reward from Ishmael. But if you do, Michel de Cheven is found dead later. Otherwise, you can fight Ishmael and Michel survives, which is great. Other things in Emprise du Lion, there's a slavery ring going on where a ton of Red Templars are taking people captive to try to turn them into Red Templars, infest them with lyrium. Not great. You can rescue all of them. You can also fight 3 dragons in this location. Normally it's just 1 dragon per location, but there are 3 in a set of Colosseums, and they are some of the hardest dragons in the game, but so much fun. So worth it. We have the Emerald Graves, another location in Orlais, another E. And this is where we find Fairbanks. Fairbanks is a character that shows up later in the Netflix show Dragon Age Absolution. But he is working to kind of like as a mercenary freeman, former noble as well, but just trying to find ways to help the people who have been suffering. We have the Exalted Plains. This is where a lot of the Orlesian Civil War has been taking place. And if you come here before solving things in the Winter Palace, you can help kind of turn the tides of the war. If you come here after, you're informing them that the war is over. There's also a Dalish camp here where you can gain assistance and gain an agent for the Inquisition if you help the Dalish camp. And then there's also a couple places you can gain as bases: Fort Revisan and Citadel du Corbeau. All places that were affected by the Orlesian Civil War initially. We have the Hissing Wastes, everyone's least favorite location because it's just a giant desert, empty wasteland. But there is some interesting dwarven ruins here, which you wouldn't think of because it's not underground; they're above ground. But you can learn about an old dwarven king feral or Firel, not really sure. And there's a lot of Venatori that you're fighting out here. A lot of Venatori. And then we get into some DLC. This is, I'll be honest, my least favorite of the DLCs, the Jaws of Hakon. You're working with 2 different Avar tribes. One is very cooperative. One's trying to kill you and your companions constantly. The one that's cooperating with you, Stone Bear Hold, they are willing to help you fight the Hakonites, the other tribe, as well as uncover information about the old Inquisitor from the very first Inquisition, Inquisitor Emeridon. I like the Jaws more for the old Inquisition backstory than gameplay. Yeah, the gameplay is rough. Honestly, even when you get to Emeridon, that whole quest line and fighting through those icy caves is rough. So rough. But after a lot of exploration and assistance from Stone Bear Hold, you do end up finding Inquisitor Emeridon, and you discover he's an elf. He's still alive, which is wild. It's been like 600 years, I think, is what the timeline. He's still alive because he was also a mage, and he's used magic to contain Hakon, the dragon who is also the Hakonites' god. He dies by releasing the dragon so that you can kill the dragon once and for all. It's fascinating though, because again, he's an elf, he's a mage, and yeah, you just learn a whole lot. The elves are vindicated through all of this because like it's a lot of erasure of elven history with the way things have been so far until we learn all of this. One other notable person that I didn't grab a picture of, unfortunately, was Professor Henrik. He is a researcher that you encounter here in the Frostback Basin, who Scout Lace Harding seems to have a little flirtation with, and it's kind of cute, but also I'm like, no, Harding, you're mine in Veilguard. And with that, we actually have an ad starting in just a second. So we're gonna take a quick pause. I'm gonna put a BRB screen up and grab something to snack on. Oh, there we go. Maybe. And we'll be right back after the ad break. Welcome back from the ads, everyone. All right, I just had to grab myself a wee little snack. My earrings are not facing forward. Face forward, please. Anyways, we are going to jump into, now that we've finished talking about Jaws of Hakon, we're jumping into The Descent, one of my favorite DLCs. Her snack? Yeah. I had to have a snack, you know? All right, so hungry as heck, order delivered from a place I shouldn't have because they're always late. Oh no. I hope it arrives on time for you this time. So we've got The Descent. Oh, I should double check to make sure. Yep, we got start Inquisition soundtrack over. Any special drink with that snack? Not right now. Just my lime mint seltzer. So, The Descent. Supposed to arrive 10 minutes ago. Oh no. Oh no. So sorry to hear that. All right, y'all. The Descent. So, this is an adventure into the deep roads because there have been a lot of earthquakes and it's disrupting the flow of lyrium from the lyrium mines down here. And so the Inquisitor goes to investigate. We meet up with Shaper Valta. Shaper Valta is here from Orzammar doing research and things for the Shaperate. Also working with Ren from the Legion of the Dead. And you make your way through, help the Legion cut off a spot where the Darkspawn are coming through. And begin to work your way down through the deep roads, trying to find the source of these earthquakes, figure out what's going on. And as you make your way down, you encounter plenty of Darkspawn, blah, 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 blah. And then suddenly you find a region that is not really explored. There's an old tag that you have to do some repairs to get to different places. And then once you've made your way through the tag, you find another elevator shaft that goes down even further into an area that has clearly never been explored by the elves or anybody else, really, for that matter. It's pitch black. You can't see anything. Unfortunately, a fight breaks out with an unknown enemy, and Ren dies. Brutal death, honestly. As you continue on, because really there's no turning back at this point, you discover these friends. They look like dwarves, and yet they're not. Well, they might be, but they're not dwarves as we know them. They are called the Shah Brutal. They seem to be some sort of ancient offshoot of the dwarves that we know, because they've only lived down here. They don't really talk, and their armor is fused to them through lyrium. There are lyrium veins galore. It almost looks like there's stars down here. It's just beautiful. And you make your way through, again, trying to find the source of these earthquakes. There have been codex entries and Shaperate-like memories on the walls written that indicate maybe a Titan is involved, but no one's ever seen a Titan. They're kind of myth and rumor. Along the way, though, my favorite thing in The Descent is the Nug King. The Nug King accepts offerings of cheese, but has never actually been seen by anyone, and we have the great honor of witnessing the Nug King, who wears a crown identical to the Viscount's crown from Dragon Age 2. Fun fact. It's just a very cute moment with the Nug King. Such a good moment. Anyways, moving on. Eventually, you do find what looks to be the heart of a Titan. You realize we've been inside a Titan this whole time. We've been battling the Shah Brutal. the lyrium is literal Titan's blood. So dwarves have been mining Titan's blood when they've been mining lyrium all this time. And the Shabratal dwarves were clearly here as protectors of the Titan. It almost feels like, there's foliage growing down here. There's a light source. So, there's no sun, but there is a light source down here. And you battle with a guardian of the Titan because it's been disturbed. And once battling the guardian of the Titan, Volta is hit by, actually this is before battling the Titan initially, but then as well at the end when the Titan guardian explodes, Volta suddenly seems to have magical power. Dwarves have never had the ability to use magic before. We know that Sandal and Dagna both had the ability to enchant things, but that doesn't require the use of magic as a dwarf. And so Volta seems to be the first one to have the ability to use magic thanks to a Titan. No one really knows or understands what's happened, but Volta opts to stay here with the Titan and explore more. And it has some really interesting implications for the future. And if you've seen Veilguard trailers, you know why it has some interesting implications. There's theories that Sandal may already have abilities from the Titans because of his ability to take out hordes of Darkspawn solely on his own. As well as the moment in Dragon Age 2 where after using enchantment to slay a bunch of Darkspawn, he says he did not use enchantment to literally freeze an ogre in its tracks. So fascinating stuff there. We also see that Harding gets some magical abilities, maybe from a Titan, because Harding did come down to the Deep Roads with the party initially. So Harding could have been exposed to the Titan. Okay, back to main story. Prior to the end of the game, you as Inquisitor have the ability to influence who the next Divine will be. It can be Leliana or Cassandra. And then, at least those are the two that the Chantry are considering. And then Vivienne throws her hat in the ring too. Vivienne has a very conservative, traditional view, wants the Chantry to restore things as they were. Cassandra wants to make things better, especially for the Seekers and the Templars. Leliana wants to make things better with more radical change, especially for the Circle. I personally have always preferred Leliana. I like Cassandra as Divine too. I've never done it where I've set Vivienne as Divine, but I think it'd be fun to do at some point. There's one right choice, one okay choice, and then Vivienne. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Now, I've not put Vivienne on the Sunburst throne before. Maybe it would be good. I don't know. Maybe I would like it. I don't know. Probably not. But aside from that, we get into the final moments. If you have Kieran goes missing and you and Morrigan go after him, only to find that Flemeth has appeared. Morrigan did not know that Flemeth was alive, but here she is. And she's trying to sway Kieran. It isn't. I've done it once because I am a completionist, and that playthrough hurt me so much. Oh no. Okay, good to know. Maybe I'll watch a video on it, and then I'll call it a day with that. But yeah, so Flemeth is seen here with Kieran. Ultimately, after some discussion, well, first off, we learn that Flemeth is Mythal, because she either stops Morrigan from going after Kieran or uses the Inquisitor to stop Morrigan. And that's how we learn that she's Mythal, or has Mythal in her at the very least. She was going to take Kieran with her or Morrigan, and then ultimately it's settled that she'll just take the old god's soul from Kieran. Blah, blah. 20 minutes late, time to call a restaurant. Absolutely, please. You need your food. And that is that. Flemeth advises that there is a shrine to Mythal somewhere with something that she thinks could help the Inquisitor in the final fight with Corypheus. And if you don't have Kieran at all, if you didn't do the Dark Ritual, didn't romance Morgan and Origins, instead you kind of skip all of this and you end up at that shrine regardless. And you meet a dragon who, it might be Flemeth in dragon form. It just might be a dragon that works for her. Who's to say? Because Flemeth is Mythal, it could be Mythal's dragon form. Who's to say? But this dragon, after you battle it, will help you in the final fight. Which leads us to this. When you are in the war room discussing how to find Corypheus, suddenly Corypheus is here. The breach has been reopened yet again. And Corypheus is here, raising all hell at the Temple of Sacred Ashes. You battle with Corypheus your way through the temple that is floating in the sky now. And ultimately, you do defeat him. First, you battle him, then you're battling the dragon, because the dragon on your side from Mythal has weakened the dragon and crushed Corypheus. You kill the dragon, Corypheus rises back up. In the process of all that, before the dragon's killed. Now that the dragon's dead, though, where's Corypheus gonna go? You defeat Corypheus in the most epic way possible. Use the mark to pull the orb from Corypheus, smacking him in the jaw, breaking his jaw, disintegrating him, sending him back through into the Fade, closing the breach in the sky, and the orb shatters. Everyone's excited, except for Solus. He's beside himself that the orb has been destroyed. We don't know why. And then he disappears. Back at Skyhold, there's a big celebration. Everyone's happy. You have a sweet moment with your love interest before ultimately going up to your bedchambers for the night. And roll credits. We see the epilogue, which, as always, the epilogue slides always go over how your choices impacted things, where your companions are at, whether, things that you did with them influenced them or not, who is now divine, things like that. All the typical stuff that we've seen in other games. And then we get into Trespasser. I love Trespasser so much. So in Trespasser, it's 2 years after Corypheus was defeated. We are at the Winter Palace yet again. Only this time under better circumstances-ish. An exalted council has been called. The divine that you've elected is here overseeing the exalted council. We have a representative from Orlais, a representative from Ferelden, and a representative from Tevinter. From Orlais, it's Lord Cyril. From Ferelden, it's Arl Tegan, the gentleman we know and love from Origins, except that he's kind of an idiot and a douche now. And then we have from Tevinter, Dorian. Dorian is the ambassador from Tevinter. You get to reunite with all of your companions, see what they've been up to over the past 2 years, except for Solus, unfortunately. And then while the Exalted Council is happening, this Exalted Council, by the way, is to determine whether to disband the Inquisition or not, because it served its purpose, right? Suddenly, a dead body of a Kunari shows up. And it's time to investigate. You follow some clues, a trail of blood through an alluvian to this place. It's elven ruins in the mountains in an unknown location. A whole network of Illuvians are here, though, and you keep seeing clues of dead Kunari. But there are other Kunari that you have to fight. Now, if you are an elf or have elven knowledge from various Inquisition perks and upgrades throughout the game, this is a much easier sequence of events in this location because you have spirits of old elves here to help you. Otherwise, they're here to fight you. But you gain a new ability, an ability that you can use your mark to create light, but also an explosion to injure enemies. It's great. You battle with some Kunari. You learn a little bit of lore about how Fen'Harel, the Dreadwolf god, trickster god of the elven people, led elves out of slavery to this kind of refuge here. And then as you continue to investigate more, you go back to the Winter Palace. You end up in the Crossroads, which in the Crossroads, and this is something that's described in the Masked Empire as well, the Crossroads look different for elves versus all other races. For elves, it's colorful, it's beautiful, it's shimmering. There's plant life and beauty, and the sky even shimmers in fun colors, rainbows and whatnot. And if you're not an elf, it looks so dull and lifeless, gives you headaches. You feel really sluggish walking through. In Inquisition, they didn't make the difference that big. It was more of just a slight visual difference, like no leaves or plant life on the trees and all that. But you make your way through the Crossroads. You find a library. Or, well, actually, you go to the Deep Roads first, excuse me. Go to the Deep Roads and find that the Kunari are on the Deep Roads mining lyrium. They're so against magic, so why are they here mining lyrium? And you do some investigating. You learn that there's Gatlock being used to mine the lyrium. There's a lot of lore about Fen'Harel and Mythal, but also the other elven gods. There's a number of statues to various gods. Gillenane stood out to me the most. But clearly this was not just for dwarves. This Deep Road section was used a lot for the elves, with how many elven ruins and statues there are down here. Upon return, you can go through another Luvian into the Shattered Library. This is a library of old elven knowledge that was cut off from all life when the Veil was created. You learn that before the Veil, the Fade and the waking world, it kind of existed as one, and things thrived and flourished here. And then when the Veil was put up, they were cut off from magic. The Shattered Library began to fall apart. Elves died. A lot of knowledge and history was lost. Hi, Radical Ninja. Thank you. Hope you're doing well. But you battle your way through the library, trying to gather more information. You battle some Kunari. You battle spirits of the old librarians that worked here. But you learn that the Kunari have a base of operations that you need to get to stop what they're doing. Because they are trying to take down all of the major world powers in Orlais and Ferelden, because they believe that magic has gone too far, and that there's an agent of Fen'Harel that's gone too far with it as well, and believes the Inquisition is working for this agent of Fen'Harel, supposedly. I don't know. And you end up at the Darvarad. The Darvarad is a Ben Hasrith fortress, where you learn along the way that this sect of Kunari are not under orders from the leaders of the Kunari. They are doing this of their own volition. They are not supposed to be doing this. So at least it's not like there's a mass Kunari invasion coming anytime soon, thankfully. But you find out that the Dragon's Breath weapon to be used to destroy a lot of Orlais and Ferelden isn't just Gatlock bombs. It is also an actual dragon. You can choose to kill the dragon or free the dragon. I prefer freeing it. But either way, once you deal with the dragon, you meet the Vidasala, the woman who's behind all of this. Now, there's an interesting detail about Iron Bull we'll get to in just a second, but feeling way a bit like death. I up-talked on my walk to work, and overall just feel like garbo today. Oh, I'm sorry, Radical. I hope you feel better. I really do. I hope you were able to take some time to relax. That really sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. But so here, before you fight the dragon, when you first see the Vidasala, she, if you have Iron Bull with you, will try to convince the Iron Bull to turn on you. As long as you saved the Chargers, you're A-okay. We're going all the way back to that, to Iron Bull's companion quest. If you saved the Chargers and turned Iron Bull to Alpashoth, he will stick by your side. Unfortunately, if you side with the Dreadnought and let the Chargers die, regardless of romance or not, and regardless of whether he's in your party at the moment, Iron Bull will betray you and come here and attack you, and you have to kill him, and it sucks so much. I will never do it again. I've done it once just to see what it was like, and I will never do it again. But after you fought the dragon and the Vidasala explains more of what they're doing. If you kill Krem, you deserve the betrayal. Absolutely. I agree. But you meet the Vidasala. She explains, like, hey, Fen'Harel is behind all of this. And in not so many words, and you can learn this along the way. In not so many words, you can learn that Solas is Fen'Harel, the Dreadwolf, before you find him. But from the Darbarad, you go to the Elven Ruins, where suddenly the mark on your hand is no longer just a weapon you can use. It is trying to kill you actively. If you don't discharge it and create an explosion against the enemies before it fully charges up, it will explode in your face and hurt you and your companions. So there's kind of, you're kind of a ticking time bomb now. Like, you yourself are a time bomb at this point. How can you kill Dalish before she shows you that old elven aiming trick? Exactly. Exactly. But so you fight your way through more Kunari, trying to find Solas / the Dreadwolf, if you don't know yet at that point. And when you do, you discover that he has been killing all of the Kunari you've been finding, along with his agents, of course. But once you're at the point of meeting Solas again, you see that all of the Kunari around have been turned to stone, including the Vidasala. He heals your mark temporarily to give you a little more time to talk. And he explains everything, if you allow it. There is a way, which I'll show in a moment, for him to just not explain things at all. But he gives you all sorts of information about how the old elven gods were just elven mages long ago, who went to war, who rose up, became leaders, became kings and queens, and eventually gods. They're no better than the ancient Tevinter magisters. The fall of the elves was not because of Tevinter or humans, it was because of him. When he put the veil up to separate the Fade from this world, elves lost a lot of their magic. They lost immortality. And he'll also mention, interestingly enough, that he would have gained control of the Illuvians from Briala, except that an agent of his did not succeed in getting them from her. So I mentioned before in the Masked Empire that Felisan is killed by an unknown elf because he didn't get the Alluvians from Briala. Pretty sure that was Solus, and Felisan was an agent of Fen'Hrel and of Solus. Wild. Now, when it comes to romancing Solus, he'll be so much softer with you. If you choose that you want to, that you still love him. If you're like, nah, we're done. It's just like any normal Inquisitor explanation. But if you're romanced, he's incredibly sweet with you and soft and regretful, but still says he has to do. He wants to tear down the veil to restore the world of ancient elves, and in doing so will destroy everything else. However, if you chose throughout all of the entirety of Dragon Age Inquisition when talking to Solus, if you just choose to never ask him about himself, about the elves, or about the Fade, you get a very different scene with him. And I'm gonna show you all that now, because it is wild. It's so good. Actually, we're gonna do this. There we go.
Ebesit kata, etwa ost.
Maras kata.
Your forces have failed. Leave now and tell the Canary to trouble me no further.
Solus.
So here he calms the mark so that you can speak together.
That should give us more time. I suspect you have questions.
Here it is. No, not really, no.
Solus, have I ever wanted to hear one of your endless explanations? Ever.
Well then, briefly, I am the Dread Wolf. I fought the false elven gods, created the Veil, and destroyed my people. I intend to restore them. Doing so will most likely destroy your world. Also, your mark is getting worse. Ultimately, none but I could have borne the mark and lived. Your death would cause more senseless chaos, more bloodshed. It is unnecessary. Though I doubt you will thank me. Live well, while time remains.
So, that's that. Pennsylvania. No ads, please. That is what happens if you just never ask Solus questions. And he likes it when you ask questions. So I just thought that was absolutely hilarious. A couple of other things that's kind of... Actually, wait, no, I have a couple other images. There we go. So, that's the end of Inquisition. But there are some things that are very important to talk about after Inquisition. And the first thing is the book, The Last Flight. Or I guess just Last Flight. I always think of it as The Last Flight. This book essentially follows a couple of warden recruits, warden mages. One in current day times, so after Inquisition, and one way back, and during the Fourth Blight. So it was like over 100 years ago, at least. Basically this mage in present day. She has joined the Wardens, is getting ready to go through her joining, and finds, while doing some research for the Wardens, finds the journal of Garahel's sister. Garahel was the hero of the Fourth Blight. He was an elf. His sister, also an elf, was also a warden, and the book documents her reading through this journal and learning more about the Fourth Blight. And in so doing, learns about what happened to the Griffins. Essentially, during the Fourth Blight, it was so bad. That blight lasted like 20 years, I want to say. They essentially had to resort to putting the Griffins through the joining. The Griffins don't go through the joining because if they do, they turn on each other because they inherently despise the blight. So they sense the blight in each other and they turn on each other. They turn on themselves. They destroy each other. So that's why the Griffins have never undergone the joining. But the Fourth Blight was so bad that they had to resort to that. That was the only way they could. Luckily, they were able to preserve a few eggs from the taint, and they hid them away behind elven magic to prevent anyone from getting to them and prevent anyone undeserving of the Griffins from having them, because they believed that the Wardens no longer deserve them. And honestly, I agree. In present day, this mage reading this journal learns all of this and decides to use this to find where these eggs are hidden away, if they still exist. They do. They find them. And that is why we have Griffins in the Veilguard, which I'm very excited about. Very excited about. So if you are interested in that, this is a great book to read before Veilguard. All of the Dragon Age novels, by the way, are on Spotify as audiobooks. So, and then lastly, Dragon Age Absolution. A lot of people have seen this. It's on Netflix. It's a great watch. It's only like 6 episodes. You could easily watch the whole thing in a day. But it follows, I'm blanking on everybody's names, honestly. I didn't take the time to write all this down. We follow a former elven slave from Tevinter, who works with this unlikely band of heroes to disrupt a Venatori plot and steal back a relic for the Inquisition. I won't get too into it because my brain is failing me. However, we have a certain friend here named Fairbanks, who we know from Inquisition, and is voiced by Matt Mercer. Did you know Manfred in Veilguard is also voiced by Matt Mercer? And Fairbanks dies in Absolution. So maybe there's a connection. I don't know. But I highly recommend watching it. My brain's blanking on it because I've not watched in a while. I might watch it before Veilguard comes out though, because the very end, the part that I love lore-wise, we see Meredith from Dragon Age 2. She was turned into a statue. She's preserved and alive inside the Lyrium statue, turns out. And we see her kind of pulling some strings at the end of Absolution. So there's a chance we could see her in Veilguard. I would love that, personally. I think that'd be great. But that is that. Y'all, that is all of what I have for y'all today. I don't know what the words are that I was trying to say. Why? Hold on. My ads are not snoozing. I'm trying to snooze the ads, and it's not working. Okay, we're gonna try that again. There we go. So, y'all, that is my brain's like fried now. That's all I got for Inquisition, for the lore and story. If anyone here has things they want to add, feel free. If you have questions, feel free to ask them. Now's the time to ask. Because I still think the world destruction would not come from destroying the Fade, but from the humans fighting to maintain power of everything. Yeah, that, and just the fact that if the Fade is no longer hidden behind the veil, there's demons everywhere causing chaos. Like, it would just be pure chaos. Magic would be a lot crazier. Less mages would have control over themselves. So a lot of that would destroy things, along with fights for power, and it would just be a struggle for anyone that's not an elf to survive, essentially. But yeah. I'm really glad that this didn't go longer, because I'm actually getting really hungry again. But y'all, before we end, let me snooze ads one more time. I do want to remind y'all that you can watch my other lore recaps on YouTube here. I have a VODs channel, which is where they are, and I have an edited content channel. I've only posted like some TikToks on there as shorts so far. You can also join my Discord, where we talk about Dragon Age a lot. You can buy me cool Dragon Age things on Throne. And then lastly, Monday, 2 days from now, I will be pulling that piano from behind me up here, and I'll be playing and singing the Dragon Age Tavern songs, all the bard songs. I'm very excited about it. Nervous, but I'm very excited. So feel free to go down below in my About section. That little infographic that I've been having y'all share about the lore streams has the music stream information on that too. So feel free to share it with your friends. I'm very excited about it. But with that, if no one has questions about lore, I think I'm going to call it here. And I will see you all on Monday for lots of Dragon Age music. Alrighty. Bye, guys.